Okay, I would like to go over a variant of what was being discussed before, which is display logic. But this time, instead of display logic based on the way the question is answered, I'd like to demonstrate display logic based on a value of embedded data. And so let's go ahead and set our embedded data based on the answer to the same question, which is please specify your current phase of the immigration process. And so I'm going to go ahead and go over to the left hand side navigation here where you see it kind of looks like a blocks symbol, and this is the survey flow icon. I'm going to click on that. So I have these set up already, but with the embedded data, depending on the way they answered the immigrant question. So, but I would like to show you from scratch how to set these up. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete the logic flow that I have. And this block has that original question about immigrant status. At what phase of the immigrant status are you in? And so I'm going to down here click on add a new element here, and then this element I would like to be a conditional branch, and then click on move and just scoot it up under that question. And so the next thing that I would like to do is add a condition, and it will be regarding the question that of immigrant status, which is please specify where you are in the immigrant status. So you get the drop down of all the questions on the survey here. And if the answer is not applicable, born in the U.S. is what we want. That's the conditional. So if they answered non-applicable, born in the U.S., if that's selected, okay, then we'll add a new element of embedded data and this shows that if they answered not applicable, born in the U.S., then we're going to set an embedded data value based on that. And so the embedded data, I guess, label that I'm going to use is, and you can create your own, is immigrant. And then, so I'm going to set a value that means false in Boolean, but numerically represented, and that's going to be 0. So if the answer to what is your current phase of the immigration process, the answer to that question is not applicable, born in the U.S. is selected, then embedded data value immigrant will be set to 0, which is false. And now we need to do the same thing for if they answer any other question except for, any other, they select any other choice except for non-applicable, born in the U.S. So go back down, add a new element here. It will be another branch. Click on move, scoot it up, click on add a condition, and from the drop down we're going to keep question selected, and once again select the same question. Please specify where you are in the immigration process. Select choice, and I'm still going to select not applicable, born in the U.S., but then now I'm going to say if that's not selected, okay, So the condition, if not applicable, born in the U.S. is not selected, i.e. they're an immigrant, then in the new element here of embedded data, we're going to once again put in the label immigrant, but we're going to set it now to a value of 1, which will represent true. True, they are an immigrant. And don't forget to hit apply and save all your changes. And now we'll click on back. We're going to go back to the survey interface that we had before by clicking on Builder up here. And now we have our embedded data set up, so we can place our logic, our display logic, according to this embedded data. And in this example, the purpose of this example is to show on any given question, setting up the display, the question to display based on what the embedded data value is. So I'm going to select this first question here that should only be shown, only pertains to immigrants, should only be shown to immigrants, and do an example from there. Going down to my question behavior menu in the logics that we have here, I'm going to select display logic, and this time I will use the drop down to go down to embedded data and select field name that we created, or label, however you want to call it, is immigrant. If immigrant is equal to value 1, which indicates true to us, they are an immigrant, then display this question. And we could also, if we had a question that we wanted to create down here that should only show for U.S. citizens, then we have that embedded data ready and available. All we would need to do is to do the same thing to select display logic down here in the menu for that question, edit it, and then say for embedded data, if immigrant is equal to 0, then that would show just for U.S. citizens, and it would exclude the immigrants. And let's go ahead and do a preview of this question. Actually, just for the sake of example, I would like to set this for all these questions just to make sure that the concept is clear, because all of these are just relating to immigrants. So I'm just going to quickly add display logic for all 3. So embedded data for immigrant for the participant must be equal to 1. I'm going to set it for all 3 of these because each of them should only be seen by immigrants. They only pertain to the immigrant participants. And then display logic, embedded data, immigrant equal to 1. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do a global preview of that to test the logic. And so first thing I'm going to test is a participant who selects non-applicable, born in the U.S. Okay, and it skipped all the questions related to immigration, and it skipped right onto the question that both types of participants should see, regardless of whether you are a U.S. citizen or an immigrant. So that logic is correct. And I'm going to restart the survey. And then answer any one of these will indicate that the participant is of immigrant status. Select asylum granted. And boom, we see now all three of the immigrant related questions, because we set the display logic to show for the embedded data that was just assigned. You can't see it, it happens behind the scenes. But because I didn't select born in the US, we set the logic to assign embedded data that indicates that this is an immigrant participant. The value is 1, and so only those who have been assigned that value of 1 for immigrant should be able to see this. So the logic that we set is working.